AO, the real rhythm of the city. And I want to thank all those out there in the Facebook land that's tuning in. And I do. I feel good. And if you stick around, man, you're going to find out why I feel good, and you're going to find out how to feel good. Have a wonderful, wonderful show planned for you this morning. As Michael says, Natural Foods Plus the Juice Caboose is brought to you by Health is Wealth. Every Tuesday morning is brought to you by Natural Foods Plus the Juice Caboose. Two locations, 2901 Philadelphia, the corner of Philadelphia and Siementhaler, and also 3070 Far Hills in Kettering. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Fridays, 8 to 8, Saturdays 9 to 7. And the north location, we're open on Sundays from 11 to 5. The second location's 3070 Far Hills, we open Monday through Fridays 8 to 8, Saturdays 9 to 7, and closed on Sundays. What we do here on Health is Wealth is we discuss what I like to call natural, complementary, integrative approaches to health. And of course, we do it with truth and honesty. I just like to let you know that I'm not a doctor and that these are my opinions and beliefs. And how did I get these opinions and beliefs? By reading, by studying, by living this lifestyle, this natural approach to health. And so what I do here on Health is Wealth every Tuesday morning, what I try to do is I try to bring you a different perspective, a different viewpoint. And I ask you to use good sense, not common sense, but use good sense. Be still. And I ask you to question. As Deepak Chopra says, it is only through questioning that we can break this hypnosis of social conditioning. And I'm gonna cut my disclaimer a little short this morning. And the information provided on this program is intended to educate you, the listener, about certain medical and always some social conditions, and always possible solutions to those conditions. It is not a substitute for examination or diagnosis by a medical care provider, by a licensed and qualified health professional. If you believe you, your family, or someone you know that may suffer from what we may discuss on this program, please see your healthcare provider. Do not attempt to treat yourself, your child, your family, or anyone else without proper medical supervision. That's my disclaimer that I've been saying for quite a few years. And for those who's tuning in for the first time, that's right, quite a few years. The North location has been open 26 years, thanks to you. Without your patronage, it could not happen. And so, man, this program is not government sponsored. We don't get a grant. When you support us, then you support this type of programming. Man, what I'm going to do this morning, first of all, I have a couple of announcements. And then we may extend the program an extra half hour this morning. I have a lot of information I want to cover. I want to talk about, there was a very interesting article in the Dayton Daily News on Sunday's paper. Black residents still less likely to get a vaccine. I want to talk about that. I want to share some information and by Dr. Peter Glidian. You've listened to his tape before, but we're going to play a little bit of him where he talks about perspectives and how you get that different perspective. And then also, I have something that I'm going to share with you regarding the EMF and 5G. This is by Jerome Johnson. It's a little video. It's about 15 minutes, but the information regarding EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, and the knowledge and information that they're keeping from us. This is a person that's been part of the Silicon Valley for 15 years. He has a master's degree in engineering, and he gives his perspective and a lot of research that has gone into it. And please pay attention to this show in terms of the resources that I share with you. This is very, very important to me. And I want you to pay attention to the credentials of these resources, because these credentials that I share with you are unbelievable. You know, we're constantly being censored and taken off the air. We're not being able to be on Facebook and YouTube and Google. And so I want to ask you why. And then I want you to look at the credentials of these people and why they have been censored. You know, we've been lied to, played on, and hoodwinked. A couple announcements. First of all, man, injectable vitamins, they're back. We're back at, we're giving injectable vitamins with the Ingenious Health and Wellness Company every Saturday at the South location. Ingenious Health and Wellness are there, and we're giving injectable vitamins. There's approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different vitamins injections you can get. Vitamin B12, super B12, B complex, glutathione, which is an unbelievable amino acid that helps with building the immune system. And we're going to talk about that, the immune system and getting free radicals out. You can get a vitamin D3 injection, and then lipo injection for weight reduction. Again, Alindra will be back this Saturday from 2 to 4 at the Kettering location for injectable vitamins to boost the immune system, to promote and to increase energy, which is so very, 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 very important. It's all about the immune system, people. It's all about the immune system. And all those other things are important. But if you get sick, if you get a virus, if you get cancer, that it's about your immune system, and which I've shared many, many times. There's a book called The Cancer Answer by Albert Carter, written in 1979. It was one of the first books that I read in the early 80s that formed my foundation of my belief system. And in that book, it says we're not being told the truth about cancer. Cancer is not a disease. It's a naturally occurring condition. A healthy immune system is our only really defense against cancer or against any chronic metabolic issue. A healthy immune system. You can do all those other things. But if you don't have a healthy immune system, that's the key. That's the key. And so I brought a few things in this morning. This first half hour, we're going to talk about every week. Every week I get 2 to 3 calls now about cancer, chronic metabolic conditions. What can I do to? I've lost my appetite. I got a mother that's down with cancer. I got a brother. When I had cancer in 1984, it was 1 out of every 267 people. Today, 1 out of every 2 men and 1 out of every 3 women is coming down with cancer. So I ask you why? 25 years ago when I opened the store, 26 years ago, I opened the store, it was every 30 seconds somebody had a heart attack or a stroke. Every 20 seconds today, somebody has a heart attack or a stroke. So I'm asking you why? Why? Deepak Chopra says, it is only through questioning that we can break this hypnosis of social conditioning and we being programmed and conditioned. Nobody is telling you about the fast food and the processed food and the junk food. We're being programmed. You turn on the TV, that's all you see. Junk food, fast food, processed food, which has no nutritional value for your brain. Your brain needs nutrients. And that's what the Minister of Wellness talks about. Genocide by diet. It's very, very real. And so some of the things that I want to share with you this morning that's very, very important to boost your immune system. This here is a green goddess. This is a green goddess. This has parsley, kale, cucumber, and celery. Cold press, freshly squeezed juice. I also have a tablespoon of liposomal vitamin C, and I have a teaspoon of zinc. And so this is one of the things that I do in terms of starting my morning. Also, I have here on my end cap, as Brother Steve said, I have something that these are things that I get calls and they want to know how can I boost my immune system. I have a relative, I have a friend that's not eating and has been diagnosed with fourth stage cancer. What can we do? And so my recommendations, number one, is to boost the immune system. Here's another product. It's called humic and fulvic. Humic and fulvic is the most biological active substance on earth. I brought this from my home. This is a gallon, but of course it comes in much smaller. But humic and fulvic at one time was called the gift, and comes to us from Mother Earth Labs. We're the only health food store in Ohio that has her product, and I've been having her product for the last ever since 2011. And so Mother Earth Labs, we have a lot of products from Mother Earth Labs, but this is called humic and fulvic. It goes down to the cellular level, and it is amazing in terms of what it does for the immune system. I was going to elaborate a little bit more, but let me just go through some other things here. We also have that I want to share is this is called Brain On. Brain On, also E3 Live. Brain On and E3 Live is a blue-green algae. It has all your trace minerals, every known vitamin, mineral, trace minerals, very high in chlorophyll. Chlorophyll cleanses and detoxifies the body. It's again, it's a whole food cellular supplement. Very, very important to boosting your immune system. So E3 Live or Brain On. This is liposomal vitamin C. So very, very important. Liposomal is a process that they use to with the vitamin C, and it gets absorbed into the system. So liposomal vitamin C, very, very important. This is a vitamin D3 and K2 from Premier Research Labs. Let me back up. Let me take a deep breath, as my coach is probably listening, saying slow down. The liposomal vitamin C comes from My Body Symphony, which is Dr. Max McLeod, who joins us the first Tuesday of every month. Only health food store in Ohio that has My Body Symphony. Again, whole food cellular supplements that goes down to the cellular level. And he also has a complete meal. He has the pumpkin protein. So My Body Symphony with liposomal vitamin C, and has a lot of other products. Again, only health food store in Ohio that has My Body Symphony. Only health food store in Ohio that has Premier Research Labs. That's a vitamin line that's been around for 30 years, developed by Dr. Marshall, and it has all of its products has no excipients. Excipients are fillers and binders that they use to put in products to extend the shelf life. Premier Research Lab, only health food store in the southern part of Ohio. You can't go to any other place to find Premier Research Labs. Also this morning, I had Lugo's iodine. So very, very important. There's 22 organs that depends on iodine. In the book Healing is Voltage, Dr. Jerry Tennant talks about the importance of iodine. Dr. Max McCloud talks about the importance of iodine. Carrie Lynn Carter, the founder of Mother Earth Labs, who is a who is she's a bioengineer and developed Mother Earth Labs. But again, she talks about the importance. This comes from Mother Earth Labs, but we also have iodine from My Body Symphony. My Body Symphony also produces something called Big, and I take this every morning. Big is for the brain, is for the immune system, and is for the gut. And so this again boosts the immune system. Another thing that we have is Natural Foods Plus Super Tonic. Unbelievable. Old ancient remedy for inflammation, fever, flu, and colds. Old ancient remedy for inflammation, fever, flu, and colds. Has 5 herbs in it. This is a proprietary blend. We added cayenne pepper to the original, and man, it is unbelievable, and we can't keep it on the shelf. And so again, Natural Foods Plus Super Tonic. And then of course we have the MO Treasure. The MO Treasure is our signature smoothie, and our signature smoothie has alfalfa, wheatgrass, spirulina, plant-based protein, and the one without agave, it has flaxseed oil. Unbelievable. So these are some of the things that I wanted to share this morning with you regarding boosting the immune system, and I will come back and share more and more and more. We're getting close to the bottom of the hour. And what I want to do now, I want to share something with you. You know, how did you form your perspective? And this is by Dr. Peter Glidden. Please listen to this. Dr. Peter Glidden is a naturopath doctor, and he shares an interesting perspective on health and how you form your opinions and beliefs. And he makes a distinction between allopathic medicine and naturopathic medicine. We've heard it before, but we learn by repetition. Michael, if you would, Dr.
What we're talking about is perspective. It's going to be the underlying theme of everything that I'm discussing right now. So let's go back to the basics. Medical industry propaganda. What we've been sold culturally, every culture has something called an already always listening. It's a cultural condition. It's a set of rules and regulations that we've kind of adopted unconsciously. You know, in Christopher Columbus's day, the prevailing paradigm was that the earth was flat. Everybody believed that the earth was flat. Nobody really even talked about it. It was just considered a given. In the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s in this country, African Americans, black people were considered animals. That's how slavery was justified. These aren't people, they're animals. And that was just considered as it was accepted. After that, it was women aren't smart enough to vote. After that, it was, well, you know, child labor, that's okay. You can put little kids to work and there's no problem with that. There are cultural paradigms that exist in every culture, in every age. It's just a part of the deal. One of the cultural paradigms that we are suffering egregiously from today in the modern American culture is the false belief that medical doctors are king. This is sold to us. Medicine is sold to us and has been sold to us for the last 100 years. As medical doctors, bless their hearts, I've got tons of friends who are medical doctors, and there's a room in the world for medical doctors. But their industry has been sold to us as the only medical industry. And as a matter of fact, everything else, naturopathic, chiropractic, osteopathic, Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, etc., is alternative to it. This is, in fact, where the term alternative came from. I don't practice alternative medicine. It's not alternative to my patients, but from a greater cultural perspective, it is, in fact, alternative. But it's only alternative because these guys have owned the ranch for 100 years. In a perfect world, there would be equal distribution and equal access to all types of medicine. What medical doctors practice is one piece of the pie. It's been sold to us for the last 100 years as the whole pie, and everything else is alternative or inferior to it. In a perfect world, there would be equal access to chiropractic and naturopathic and Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine and prescription medicine, and equal allocation of research money, but there is not. These people have owned the farm. The medical doctors have owned the farm for the last 100 years, and we suffer culturally, personally, professionally, and financially because of it. So let's put it in perspective. Now, it all started with the Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Rush, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, was a medical doctor. Unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come when medicine will organize itself into a dictatorship. To restrict the art of healing to one class of men, i.e. medical doctors, bless their heart, and deny equal privilege to others will constitute the Bastille of medical science. And this is exactly what's happened. They tried to write medical freedom into the Bill of Rights, right? Didn't happen. So now, because of money and political affiliations and propaganda that we're going to talk about, the medical doctors, the MD piece of the pie, has risen to the top, and now we just all culturally accept the fact that they're the king, and we don't even really second guess it unless, of course, you're a longevity distributor. Now, let's take one step back and take a larger look at this phenomenon. Now, medical doctors practice allopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine is based on the two Greek words allos and pathos. Allos meaning opposite to, pathos disease. It's a reductionistic philosophy. It views the body as a machine made of parts. And when the body is sick, it has to be taken apart into its smallest piece and a different medicine given for each piece. And the medicines that are delivered oppose the disease process. Now, this is in direct distinction to holistic medicine, naturopathic medicine that Doc and I practice. It's from the term naturo, which means nature, and pathos, disease. It's a holistic methodology. Medicines support the body's ability to fix itself. The body is a complex system of interacting, interrelated parts, and the medicines are delivered to the entire system. This is a very important thing to understand, and this is similar to, the way that a Buddhist looks at the world as opposed to the way that a born-again Christian looks at the world, or the difference between the way that a Republican looks at the world and a Democrat looks at the world, right? We're all looking at the same world, but the way that we interpret it is based on our particular philosophical lens. The philosophical lens that medical doctors, bless their hearts, look at the world through is a reductionistic lens. It sees the body as a machine made of parts. And every time you're sick, you go to the doctor, he gives you a medicine for that part. So you end up with one medicine for your arthritis, one medicine for your asthma, one medicine for your heartburn, one medicine for your blood pressure, one medicine for your insomnia, one medicine for your anxiety, and one medicine to take care of the side effects of all those medicines. And we've just come to accept this as the way that it is because nobody's ever lined it up to us like this before. Now, holistic doctors, on the other hand, are taught that the philosophical orientation that we bring to bear is that the body is a system, a complex system of interrelated parts, and that the body has an inherent, built-in, natural ability to fix itself. This is a fundamentally key distinction which separates a holistic methodology from a reductionistic methodology. Medical doctors, bless their hearts, do not believe that the body can fix itself. They do not believe that the body can fix itself because, from their way of thinking, son of a gun, if the body could fix itself, it wouldn't have gotten sick in the first place.
Man, I'm telling you, Dr. Peter Gliddian, who made MDs king. If you happen to just be tuning in, this is Rick with Natural Foods Plus, the Juice Caboose. Every Tuesday, we bring you health as wealth right here at WDAO. We're going to probably extend the show this morning. We're going to take a short pause for the cause, and then when we return, I have a whole nother perspective that we're going to talk about in terms of the EMF. But that foundation by Dr. Peter Glidden, this is what my belief system, that the body can heal itself. You give the body what it needs. What I shared with you this morning, the body will heal, repair, and rejuvenate itself. That's why when you go to Natural Foods Plus and that juice caboose, you'll get these whole food cellular supplements that goes down to the cellular level, and you can heal yourself. That's my beliefs. We're going to take a short pause for the cause, and we'll be right back.
WDAO, AM 1210 and FM 102.3, where the rhythm is longer and stronger.
Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Later today, the Democrats' elections and voting bill is all but certain to be rejected in a key test vote in the...
So I'd like to begin by asking a few questions.
Voting more accessible, more available to Americans across the country, and our effort, the president's effort, to continue that fight.
Republicans like Tennessee's Lamar Alexander in the Senate see this bill as federal overreach.
Democrats have determined they have to take over state elections. This is about holding on to power and nothing else. There doesn't seem to be a power grab that's too extreme for the modern left.
The European Union's police agency says extremists sought to use the global pandemic to spread hate propaganda and exacerbate mistrust in public institutions in 2020. The Europol agency said in a report, the economic crisis and social unrest it spawned contributed to polarization in society. I'm Ed Donahue.
You are listening to Health is Wealth Talk Show with your host, Rick Poole, sponsored by Natural Foods Plus and heard each Tuesday at 9 a.m. The views and opinions heard on Health is Wealth Talk Show are those of the callers and hosts and not necessarily of those of WDAO Radio, its staff, or management. And now, Health is Wealth Talk Show with host Rick Poole.
Thank you, Michael, and also thank you, listeners out there that's tuning in to WDAO, the best show on the radio, and also for the Facebook friends that's looking in. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and thank you for supporting Natural Foods Plus, the Juice Caboose. 2901 Philadelphia, the corner of Philadelphia and Siebenthaler, and also 3070 Far Hills in Kettering. Open Mondays through Fridays, 8 to 8, Saturdays 9 to 7. The south location is closed on Sundays, but the north location is always open to serve you the people. What I want to do now, about a month or so ago, there was a summit. And the summit was called the Toxic Mold Summit. It was about a 10-day summit. Of course, it was censored by Facebook, by YouTube, by Google, by the media. Nobody could really tune in, but it had about 50 MDs and naturopath doctors, and they talked about mold, toxic mold. And last week I shared some issues that I'm having with mold. But there's a chapter in here that I'm going to take the time that I really want to share. The chapter is called, the title of the chapter is mold, not the chapter, well, one of the presentation was called mold, electro-hypersensitivity, and EMF and 5G. EMF, for those who out there may not know, is electromagnetic frequencies, and 5G. And the host of this is, her name was Margaret Christensen. She's the host. And her guest at this particular presentation was Stephanie McCarter, MD. And so what I want to share with you is I'm going to take the time to do this. This is very, very important. I want you to listen to the credentials of this MD. Then I want to ask yourself, why is she being censored? Dr. Christian, who's a doctor, says, well, hello. This is Dr. Margaret Christian, host of the Toxic Mode Summit. And today, my guest, my colleague, and my friend, who just is Dr. Stephanie McCarter. She is an amazing physician who has been involved in environmental medicine for over 20 years. She's an MD. She's been involved in environmental medicine for 20 years. And with her own experience and herself, she has been working with Dr. again, MD, Bill Way at the Environmental Health Center in Dallas for at least the past 15 years. And helps to carry out on his legacy along with Dr. Elizabeth Seymour. Again, I just mentioned 3 MDs. Dr. McCarter, she is a board certified and she's board certified in internal medicine. She currently practices internal medicine and environmental medicine at the Dallas Environmental Health Center. And she is a member of the American College of Physicians. She was an Alpha Omega Alpha Medical Society honors student, graduate, and also a member of the American Academy of Environmental Medicine. And she has her own eco-friendly low electromagnetic field house. And she consults with well-known experts in healthy house building. She also got a wealth of information about how to build healthy homes. And so that's the intro. And she totally believes that the body is energetic, is an energetically open system, exchanging energy and materials within surrounding environment, and we have to treat ourselves as such to achieve total wellness. She strongly believes that the treatment should be whole body, mind, body, spirit. And that's Dr. McCarter. And so Dr. Christians, she starts off and she asks, she says, so she says, all right, so we got to hear you actually speak in August 2019 at the International Electromagnetic Field Conference. Again, these are things that's happening that International Electromagnetic Field Conference. I want you to pay attention because this EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, and 5G, there's a whole nother story out there that we're not being shared. It's been censored and kept away. Look at the credentials of these people. Look at the credentials. And so she asks Dr. Carter, she says, Dr. Carter, so EMF is basically electromagnetic fields, and it has 4 categories. That your electricity, and it has 4 categories. Number 1, so the first category I think about immediately is electrical fields. That's your electricity running through your wires. And so we have those measuring volts per meter. And then you have magnetic fields that emulate from anything that has a current. Okay, so magnetic fields means that anything that has a current. So, you know, in this room right here, anything that has a current, it's sending out a magnetic frequency. Okay, and if you have, you know, anything that like a motor on your refrigerator and it's running, The more current is going through the motor, the more magnetic fields you're going to have. So let's be still and let's use good sense. So look at all the items that you have in your house, in your home, and in your kitchen. And okay, so number one was the electrical. Number two is magnetic. Okay, fields. Also, magnetic fields are like power lines that have magnetic fields. Okay, and this is a great little resource I want to mention. She was talking about a gentleman by the name of Nick Pinehalt. He has an excellent book out, an excellent resource. He has a book that was written in 2017. Many people may have heard of it. It's called The 9-Trifold Guide to EMF. I want you to pay attention because I've been talking about EMF for quite a while. And very honestly, I'm on the forefront. And so the information that I'm sharing with you now, believe me, if you can be still and understand and question and do some research, and if you're having some physical chronic conditions that maybe the conventional doctor don't know anything about, I'm telling you, the EMF is a electromagnetic frequencies may be your source of the problem, and what it does, and the source is within your home. And so she says, and it's really a great resource for people. And she's speaking of the book, and it makes it electrical, and it makes it easy to understand. And I like what he says when he talks about electrical and magnetic fields. He's like he thinks of a water hose and the water going through the hose. So the water going through the hose is electrical current, and the wiring and the water coming out of the hose, the pressure is the magnetic. This is just trying to give you a metaphor and an example of this electricity and the magnetic fields that comes out. And I mentioned it last week in terms of the electrical is the electricity. If you get the death penalty years ago, yeah, you were sent to the electric chair. So electricity can kill you. You turn up the voltage. And so, okay, so the magnetic fields is stronger when you have more current. And the thing about electrical fields is they are pretty easy to shut off and shield. But magnetic fields are much more difficult. So then the third thing that we want to talk about is RF. So that's your radio frequencies. Please pay attention. As we started with, as we stated, and we started with 60 hertz in the electrical current. Okay, 60 hertz in the electrical current, and that is 60 cycles per second. Okay, so we started with 60 hertz, which is 60 cycles per second. And then you have kilohertz, which is like an AM radio. It's 1,000 cycles per second. And she's going to mention here, your heart frequencies is like 7.8 hertz. And so there's a frequency on Earth, which is 7.8, which is about 60 cycles per second. And so now they developed the AM radio. And it's 1,000 cycles per second. And we get into 1,000,000 cycles per second. And you have got to remember the Earth is 7.8 hertz. So this is our heart frequencies. So your heart has a frequency, 7.8 hertz. Our bodies have frequencies that we tune into it. Our heart frequency kind of resonates with 7.8 hertz. So now we're up to 1,000,000 cycles per second with our old flip phones. You remember the flip phones in FM radio? So now we've gone from 60 cycles to 1,000. So now we're up to 1,000,000 cycles per second. The old flip phones and FM radio. And now we're going up to 2.5 gigahertz, which is a billion cycles per second. That's our iPhones and our newer phones. And now we're looking at 5G, where we're going to go. We've had 5G in a lot of cities where we have basically 5 gigahertz. So it's a billion times per second. So what I want you to do is understand these frequencies. And you look at your home, when you have all the appliances, when you have 5G, you have Wi-Fi, you have the smart meter. I'm currently, I called yesterday to get, do we have a smart meter? They didn't call it a smart meter, they called it an EMT or something. And I remember 3 or 4 years ago, they didn't ask to go around. So what is a smart meter? A smart meter now means the DPNL can ride by your house and just point to the house and it's going to get its reading. So what is that doing? That's sending a frequency to the DPNL person. So now you got a smart meter in your home, you got Wi-Fi in your home, you got 5G in your home, you got refrigerators, you got all these appliances, you got clocks and stuff. And sometimes some people are super sensitive to this. And it's sending them over the hill. So I've tried to give you a little bit of an explanation of electromagnetic frequencies and what it is doing to us as a people. And now we have cell towers all over the city. And now if you've been paying attention on news and the newspaper, they talk about the number of shootings and killings. In this chapter, one of the doctors mentioned 10 years ago that you're going to see an increase in shootings. Literally said this, and this is what we're experiencing. So you take this associated with the lack of nutrition that the body is getting and how we're being programmed, and you have 3 components that's taking us out. Michael, I want to go to this is Jeremy Johnson. This is a presentation, and listeners out there, Jeremy Johnson is he's one of the leaders in this field, and he's going to share some information about electromagnetic frequencies. Michael, if you would, please.
or even a cell tower placed across the street from their home. These are the common symptoms that people start to experience. This is actually from a published paper on the health effects of wireless smart meters. So just here in the Bay Area, I'm in touch with dozens of people who've had their lives changed by this. Medical doctors, high school principals, teachers and students, IT professionals, and even entrepreneurs. These are people who had a normal life and then over a short period of time went to where they could no longer work, where they could no longer go to an office. Some of them actually have had to move out of their homes because they can't be in an environment which is normal now for most people. I've been in touch with people around the world who've become homeless because of this. There's many people that's actually happened to. And unfortunately, I know of people who've actually taken their lives because there's essentially no place they can go. And this is something that society does not yet recognize. My own life has been tremendously changed by this. After that first exposure to wireless smart meters, now I can no longer be in an environment with strong Wi-Fi for very long. So I can't go to my work the way I used to be able to. Most environments are now essentially toxic to me. So even finding a safe place to live has become very difficult. Imagine not being able to live in an apartment building where everyone has Wi-Fi, or to be able to live next to a cell tower. This is actually a proposed cell tower here in Berkeley. The residents have actually stopped it for now, but most churches and most schools now have cell towers on them. And so it exposes the people around them and, of course, the students who go to those schools. This is a cell tower in San Francisco. That brown thimble on top of the telephone pole is a cell tower. And these are being placed every couple blocks. So you could have an amazing home, and then one week, a company can come and put a cell tower right outside your window. So this is something that's happening throughout the Bay Area, and it's going to be happening throughout the United States. So it makes it so that people like myself have a hard time finding a place to live, but it also is ratcheting up the exposure of the entire population. So you might be asking, perhaps some people are being injured by this, but if you're not feeling it, it's probably not that big of a deal. And I think that's a very common experience. But it's not as simple as saying that just a few unfortunate people are being affected by this. Because what the science shows is that we're all affected on some level, whether we can feel it or not. And the reason is because essentially our bodies are electric. Every cell in our body communicates using tiny electric signals. It's how our nervous system operates. So to think that we could put an exponential amount of microwave radiation into our environment and not feel effects is simply false. To illustrate this, I actually had many friends come to me when I started to experience this, and they would say, "Jeremy, are you sure you aren't making this up in your head?" And I thought this too myself at the beginning. But then a year or two later, they would come to me and they'd say, "You won't believe it, but now I'm feeling pain in my arm when I use my cell phone, or when I put it to the head, or when a new Wi-Fi router is installed." So this is something where when people have more of an exposure, more people are being affected. And it's not just headaches and insomnia. It's much more serious things, such as infertility, DNA damage, and eventually cancer. This is what the research is starting to show. And you don't have to take my word for it. I encourage you to start researching this for yourselves. If you simply Google EMF research, this is a screenshot of what you'll find. The World Health Organization is the first link there. And they actually in 2011 came out and said, this wireless technology is possibly carcinogenic. Now there's scientists around the world that say that it's most likely carcinogenic. The third link there is actually my own website. It's there because the last 5 years I've gathered research from around the world that shows that we now have enough evidence to at least take precaution when it comes to this technology. So isn't this regulated? And this is one of the most interesting things I've found. The Federal Communications Commission is who is supposed to be regulating wireless technology. But if you look at the regulations, they're almost 20 years old. So that means our most advanced technology is using science that's at least 20 years old. But not only that, they're based on a concept which is nearly 50 years old, which says if microwave radiation does not heat us, then it can't possibly hurt us. But there's now hundreds of studies that show that this is false. So how is it that we have a regulatory body that's not protecting the public? Well, like many issues, like many public health issues in our country, you end up having industry influencing the regulatory body. And that's what's happening here. So you have a revolving door between the wireless lobby and the FCC Commission. So that's what's happening. Plus, the science is heavily influenced by industry funding. This is a study by Dr. Henry Lai. He looked at 326 studies based on the biological effects of cell phone radiation. He found that about half of the studies showed effects and half didn't. That's pretty normal for this type of research. But what he found that was interesting was that if you looked at who funded the studies, 70% of the independent studies showed effects, and only 32% of the industry-funded studies showed effects.
Wow. If you happen to just be tuning in, this is Rick with Natural Foods Plus. I want to ask you, why is this information being censored? You know, why is this information being censored? And this is old, people. You know, he started doing this research in 2007. This is 13 years ago. Unbelievable. So why is it that we haven't been privy to this information? We're going to take a short pause for the cause, and we'll come back. We're going to extend the show until 10:30. If you have any questions or comments, you'll be able to call in, and hopefully I can answer them or give you a resource. We're going to take a short pause for the cause, and we'll be right back.
The real rhythm of the city, WDAO Dayton.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. The Democrats' expansive elections and voting bill is all but certain to be rejected in a key test vote later today in the Senate. More from the AP's Julie Walker.
President Biden vowed what the White House calls the fight of his presidency over ensuring Americans access to the polls. At stake is not only election rules that make it easier to vote, but Democrats' own ability to confront the limits of bipartisanship and decide whether or not the filibuster rules should change. Republican leader Mitch McConnell blasted the legislation ahead of the debate as a disastrous proposal that will get no quarter in the Senate.
A gunman is believed to have shot and killed an officer and another person in a shopping district near Denver and was later shot and killed by police. Dozens of wildfires are burning in hot, dry conditions across the West, including a fire touched off by lightning that is moving toward Flagstaff, Arizona. The White House says more than 70% of Americans 30 or older have received at least one dose of a coronavirus vaccine. President Biden is set to fall short of reaching his goal of giving a shot to the same percentage of all American adults by the 4th of July. The Manatee County Main Administration building in Florida is open again after several employees contracted the coronavirus. 2 people died. The building was disinfected and fogged. Nicholas Azara is Manatee County Information Outreach Manager.
I know a lot of county staff who work in this building, who work in our IT department are hurting. This is a serious loss to our work family, and a lot of people upset.
Face masks will still be optional for employees and visitors. The Vatican has formally opposed a proposed Italian law expanding anti-discrimination protections to the LGBT community. Activists immediately denounced what they called unprecedented Vatican meddling in Italy's legislative process. Stocks are lower in early trading. This is AP News. The sister of the leader of North Korea is slamming the U.S. over nuclear negotiations.
Kim Jong-un's powerful sister has spoken out against an early resumption of diplomacy with Washington, saying the U.S. expectations for talks would plunge them into a greater disappointment. Kim Yo-jong made the comments after National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan described as an interesting signal Kim Jong-un's recent statement that North Korea will be ready for both dialogue and confrontation, but more for confrontation. On Monday, the top US envoy on North Korean affairs said on a visit to Seoul that he hoped to see a positive reaction from the North soon on US offers for talks. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Police in Hong Kong arrested a man on suspicion of using seditious words after a flag with a banned protest slogan was seen hanging outside his apartment. The banned slogan is "Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times." Ed Donahue, AP News.
WDAO, WDAO is everywhere.
You're listening to a two-way call-in talk show on WDAO Dayton. Now, when your calls are answered, please turn your radio down or turn it off. This helps not to get feedback. When discussing subjects like consumption of pop or soft drinks, fast foods, or even medicine, please do not give brand names over the air. Just say pop or soft drinks, fast food, or medicine without giving brand names. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Thanks for being an understanding and mature audience. And thanks for listening and participating here on the real rhythm of the city, WDAO Dayton.
You are listening to Health is Wealth Talk Show with your host, Rick Poole, sponsored by Natural Foods Plus and heard each Tuesday at 9 a.m. The views and opinions heard on Health is Wealth Talk Show are those of the callers and hosts and not necessarily of those of WDAO Radio, its staff, or management. And now, Health is Wealth Talk Show with host Rick Poole.
Thank you, Michael, and also thank you, listeners and watchers out there. Thank you for tuning in to Health is Wealth, brought to you by Natural Foods Plus, the Juice Caboose, every Tuesday from 9 to 10, and sometimes we extend it to 10:30. Again, this program is not government sponsored, and so I couldn't extend this program to 10:30 if it wasn't for your support. So when you support Natural Foods Plus, then you support this type of programming, and I'm able to extend this. This extra half hour costs money, but when you bypass those other places, when you come and support Natural Foods Plus, then you support this type of programming. Again, open 7 days a week, Monday through Fridays, 8 to 8, Saturdays 9 to 7. The South location is closed on Sundays, and then the North location we're open 11 to 5. 937-279-0994 is the North. 937-951-2966 is the South location. And again, naturalfoodsplus.com. Jeremy Johnson, I hope you paid attention and listened. You know, what I'm trying to do here is give you another perspective. I'm trying to get you to stop and question. As Deepak Chopra says, it is only through questioning that we can break this hypnosis of social conditioning. And we've been lied to, played on, and hoodwinked. Information is being withheld from us. So I think about Dr. Peter Glidden when he talked about perspective. We're all looking at the same world, but we have a different perspective. Why? That's because of the information that I'm privy to different information than Michael and a lot of the others out there. So I have information and knowledge that I have read and digest and understand that majority of the population has never even heard of before. That's just like with Jeremy Johnson, what I just shared with you, electromagnetic frequencies. He's been studying this for 10, 15 years. The research data, I didn't even know in Dallas the environmental centers that they have. The research and information that is showing what electromagnetic frequencies are doing is amazing. Thousands of studies. So when we're seeing this increase in shootings, I'm going to read that excerpt in this chapter here, where they talk about, the one doctor talks about, and he did this 10 years ago. He says, you're going to see an increase in shootings. And so what I'm asking you to do is think about what we're talking about. Number one, be conscious and aware. The first component that's really that is affecting mental health and causing so much crime and violence, the first component is what we're downloading within our subconscious. What you see, look, and hear every day. Every half hour you hear this negativity, you're downloading within the subconscious. Your subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind. And you can download some things in there that 10 years later, you'll have a reaction. Something will trigger it. So number one, be conscious and aware of who and what is programming the programmer. Number two is the nutritional deficiencies within the brain. And the Minister of Wellness does such a heck of a job of talking about that. And not only the Minister of Wellness, I want to share this because there's comments out there that says, "Oh, the Minister of Wellness, he doesn't have a degree." So on May the 2nd, there was an interview on Dr. McCullough, and this is by a doctor, Dr. Robert Lustig. He's a pediatrician. Excuse me, professor at the University of California, San Francisco, written a number of excellent books. His latest book is Metabolical, The Lure and Lies of Processed Food, Nutrition, and Modern Medicine. Same thing that the Minister of Wellness. But you may believe Dr. Lustig, because he has a degree. He is a professor. But some of you probably still won't believe. The Lure and Lies of Processed Food, Nutrition, and Modern Medicine. That's the name of his book. And he says, while modern medicine successfully treats acute problems, it has nothing to offer for chronic conditions. As the solution for chronic health problems requires real food. Real food is medicine. Processed food is poison. And there's no medicine that can undo the damage of processed food. And he goes on. But again, real food that you can get at Natural Foods Plus. Real food, whole food cellular supplements that goes down to the cellular level. So very, very important. And so I want to get back to, and we're on Jeremy Johnson. First of all, I want to give you a website that you can go. Please write this down. EMFanalysis.com. EMF, electromagnetic frequencies analysis.com. This is Jeremy Johnson's website. And when you go there, on the home page, you will see a conference interview, which is about 20 minutes. And then you will see this TED Talk interview, which you were listening to. And he talks about solutions to the problem. We don't only talk about the problem, but we talk about solutions. And we're gonna go back to this tape because he shares some solutions to the problem of electromagnetic frequencies, the 5G, the smart meters, Wi-Fi. Just think about some of the things that I just shared with you. And please use good sense, not common sense. As Mother Whitlow says, use good sense, because what's common to one may not be common to the other. And this is the prime example. This is a prime example in terms of the EMF technology and what it's doing. They're keeping this information away from us, and it is causing problems. So go to emfanalysis.com and you will see Jeremy Johnson. That's what we were listening to. Jeremy, Jeromy Johnson. So go to emfanalysis.com and you can listen to this and see this particular interview. And so again, what I tried to do is share, this was an article in Sunday's paper. Not only black residents, but there's a lot of residents that are still likely to get vaccines because they begin to question. They begin to question an industry, which I've shared with you, which Dr. Gliddian shared, if you paid attention to the beginning of the difference between allopathic medicine and naturopathic medicine. The naturopath believes the body can heal itself. The allopathic doesn't believe the body can heal itself. They believe that you got to take a drug, you got to get a vaccine, you got to do this because the body can't heal itself. And Dr. Peter Gliddian did an excellent job in explaining that. And the amount of drugs and medication. You take a drug for this, you take a drug for this, you take a drug for that. The body, and so conventional medicine never heals you. They just manage issues. And how do they manage it? Well, they're going to give you one drug, and they give you another drug, and give you another drug. So there's a lot of people out there that questions that. It is only through questioning that we can break this hypnosis of social conditioning. A lot of times people begin to question. I'm asking you to question, who started the AMA, the American Medical Association? It was started by John D. Rockefeller. Look up robber barons in the late 1800s. The robber barons allegedly used ruthless, cruel, and otherwise unethical means to acquire wealth. They did what? They used ruthless, cruel, in other words, unethical means to acquire wealth. John D. Rockefeller, the Rothschilds, Carnegie. Robber barons is a derogatory metaphor of social criticism originally applied to certain late 19th century American businessmen who were accused of using unscrupulous methods to get rich or to expand their wealth. Does history repeat itself? What's happening today? What's happening today? They're called the digeratis. The digeratis control Facebook, YouTube, Google, Instagram. Look what they did to the president, who has 74 million followers, and they just cut him off. Digeratis. When you control the mechanism, you can control the people. And that's what's happening. And nobody is questioning. When you control the mechanism, then you control the people. Hitler did it. What mechanism did he control? He controlled radio, he controlled the media, the print, and he controlled people. He influenced people. So it's happening today. In the early 1900s, Dr. Peter Gliddian talks about the Flexner Report. That's where they intentionally put together a campaign to close naturopathic doctors and institutions. And I think there was about 18 which they systematically closed. The AMA was sued for putting together a campaign against chiropractors. Again, the AMA. And so, yeah, I can understand a lot of people begin to question in terms of what's happening today. If you understand history, and history repeats itself. History repeats itself. And so what I wanted to share with you, a couple other little areas here that was really interesting in the book, The Toxic Mold Summit, which was censored. They kept this off of all the Facebook, Google, YouTube. But what's interesting is that there's a couple things. In here, they show how electromagnetic frequencies affect blood sugar. And there's a direct relationship with blood sugar and diabetes. And then this is where I'm going to use this because this is where they were talking about Dr. Ray, who was a brilliant man. And he is one of the ones who diagnosed mold toxicity many years ago. And he says, and she says, I was so grateful. And I know that you've been one of his students. So this is going back to the initial interview with this toxic mold, where Dr. McCarter and Dr. Christian was having an interview. And Dr. McCarter says, yeah, he warned me about this, about electromagnetic frequencies. He said about 10 or 15 years ago, people are going to start shooting each other. She said, I said, what? Yeah, what are you talking about, Doc? He said, well, there's our pollutants in the air, the food, the water, and doctors don't know how to treat it by medicating it. He called it the law of harmonics. That's out of toxic mold. And the presentation was mold, electrohypersensitivity, and EMF and 5G. Michael, if you would, I want to go back to TEDx. This is Jeremy Johnson. This is very, very important. What I want to share, because he talks about solutions to the problem. He gives an overview, but again, if you go to emfanalysis.com, you'll be able to get this information. You'll be able to see his website. You can navigate through his website. And he talks about solutions of how to mitigate your home, the children, how to build a home that does not have toxicity. And so I love this because he gives solutions to the problem. 457-1210. If anybody has any questions or comments, I extended the program this morning because I really wanted to focus in on this EMF. And again, I'm hoping that it is very, very beneficial. So, Michael, if you would start. This is Jeremy Johnson with the TEDx presentation on electromagnetic frequencies and 5G. If you would, Michael.
You see that there's an influence in money on this topic. Just like many other topics, tobacco is another one where essentially the industry funded science that was going to show their products were safe. So that's the bad news.
Hold it right there for a second.
Share some good news.
Just stop it right there. You know, what he just did, and this is so prevalent, he was sharing how research, and he shared some statistical data. You know, we have lobbyists that go to Washington, and the pharmaceutical lobbyists are like 1,000 to 1. And he was showing you the improprieties that happens with these studies. And he shared that 70% of the studies, that were paid for or sponsored by, the medical or the industry. Basically, he was showing you the distinctions, and then also he was showing you the when you look at other industries and when they do research and when they funded the research, then the probability of them funding it, the results that they're going to get are going to favor them. So again, when you follow the money, follow the money. And so this last little segment here, about 3 or 4 minutes, he's going to talk about some solutions to the problem. And I really want to hear this and share this with you. So Michael, if you would, please.
And that is that there are solutions for this. We are going to have the industry start to create safer products, but there are ways that we can both protect ourselves and move industry forward. So one of the primary things we can do is to move towards fiber optics, because this is a way that we can make our homes safer, our businesses, and our schools. So fiber optics are safe, they're secure, and there's absolutely, they're one of the fastest things we can use. Another way we can go is to design products which are safer. So currently we have product designers and engineers working together, but we can bring in biophysicists and biologists to work together to create products that don't just emit right underneath the FCC regulations, but emit the least amount of any type of electromagnetic fields as possible. If smart meters had been designed to use either fiber optics or to emit just once or twice a day, rather than the 10,000 times they do emit, then I wouldn't be standing here today, and thousands upon thousands of people around the world would not have been injured by smart meters. So what are some things that all of us can do? This is one of the most important things, because everyone wants to know how to essentially protect themselves and their families. So the first thing is to make sure we use our cell phones wisely. I mentioned that you don't want to put the cell phone within about an inch of the body. The industry's telling us this now. So make sure you use speakerphone, get an air tube headset, and when it's on the body, make sure that you put it on airplane mode, when it's either in the pocket or sometimes in the bra. And when it comes to kids, we don't want to have kids use cell phones, but if they must, then please teach them how to use these wisely. We can wire our homes. This is, most people don't need Wi-Fi in their home. So move towards Ethernet, move towards fiber optics. And if you must have Wi-Fi, make sure you turn it off at night. You can get a simple timer so you don't even have to think about it. When it comes to kids, we want to reduce their exposures as much as possible. So if they use an iPad, put all of the data on the iPad and then turn the Wi-Fi off. In schools, I simply do not think we need to have Wi-Fi in schools because we're filling those classrooms with microwave radiation. We can have amazing technology, but it can be wired. And this is where I think we're gonna have to go. When it comes to the smart meter and the smart home, I recommend you opt out. I've had wealthy, early adopting families contact me who went all in on the smart home, and they ended up getting sick within a few months. So this is something that affects families, and I just recommend that you don't go down this path because it's a technology we do not need. And one of the last things I want to, solutions I want to give today is to create a safe place to sleep, because this is one of the most important things, because this is when your body rejuvenates, and it's when you can make sure that everything's off. So turn off all your wireless devices, unplug things. If you have a baby monitor, I actually recommend that you turn that off, especially at night. I just do not recommend those for kids. And if you do these things, I know many people who've ended up sleeping better. They have a much clearer during the day, and their fatigue is much less. So this is something which I recommend everyone can do. So in conclusion, I want to say that this is a problem that we can solve. There's tremendous people around the world working on this right now. And I believe we're coming to a tipping point where enough people realize that this is an important topic and that there are solutions. So I recommend that you share this with the people who are closest to you. Because if enough people wake up to this issue, then industry will start creating safe technology. And once they do that, our entire society can move towards a healthier future. Thank you.
Jeremy Johnson, people. Jeremy Johnson, go to EMFanalysis.com and you can see that just about 15 minutes, 16 minutes. And then he has another conference presentation. But to review some of the things that, I love it because there's solutions to the problem. Science is working together using fiber optics. Very, very important about the cell phone. That reminded me, man, I try to keep that cell phone away from me now in terms of an inch away. It's real, people. It's real. What he's sharing, well, you all know I've been talking about this for years. And sometimes you just get back in the groove of doing everything with everybody else and you forget. And so I'm hoping that something this morning woke you up. I'm hoping that there was some type of information that woke you up. I hope we can come together because I believe, as he just said, that if we share this information, if we come together as a people, then we can begin to change. There's so much other information that I want to share, and thank God that we have the time to do that. And so I know we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, and I hope this program has been very beneficial. This program has been beneficial to me. You make this program possible because when you support Natural Foods Plus and you support this type of programming, it couldn't happen without your support. So by going to Natural Foods Plus and going to the Juice Caboose, you make this programming possible. I want to thank you for making it possible. I want to thank you for your support. And as always, I want to say keep on keeping on. I want to say stay positive, think positive. Surround yourself with positive, principle-centered people. Look, listen, and read positive things. Talk to yourself in the positive. Develop your plan. Work your plan. Believe, and it will happen. Thank you very, very much for joining me this morning. Thank you for making it possible.